team.
Hey there, this is Malorian, and this is the Orc Tactical Team, and today we're going to be talking about another topic with the new Wood Elves, and it's going to be all about their different arrows. One of the very great new additions to the new book here was a whole idea that they have a slew of new arrows you can buy for your units. They'll make them magical. You can go with the Trueflight, where you're going to be taking no negatives to your shooting. You're going to have the Hagbane, where there's poison. Those are 2/1s. You get like +1 to wound and flaming. Whether it's the Forces of Order or the Force of Destruction, you have the double shot. And, you know, it's just really nice you have all this customization in a book. And one of the biggest things that when I first did my review, I looked at it and said, oh, Trueflight, that's the way to go. There's no question in my mind. Trueflight was, along with the cheapest arrows to pick, and yeah, that's the one to go. Here we go. And what the community actually did is they broke it down and said, well, let's do the math on this, because it seems like poison could be really good. I mean, when you look at how some of the gutter runners do for the Skaven or the skinks and stuff, poison can be pretty damn good. And they started breaking out the math and started to see, well, I mean, depending on what you're looking at, I mean, armor is going to be the same no matter what. Same thing with ward save. But really, depending on what your minus is to be shooting and what the toughness is, the poison shot can actually be the better one in a lot of cases. Now, looking at that, first of all, like I said, I was really glad to see that people were actually looking at the numbers. It's like I always stress, know the numbers, know the math, and it'll give you more strength in what you're doing. However, I think in this case here, the numbers might be a little bit deceiving, depending on how you're playing your army. Now, like I said, I'm not really like an expert Wood Elf player. If you go through, you're not going to find 100 battle reports of me doing Wood Elves. I like my Wood Elves. I played a fair number of games with them, but I'm not the 100% person to go to on Wood Elf stuff. That being said, I have played quite a few games, and my style all the time is the whole idea of the avoidance and shoot. My whole point with my Wood Elves all the time is to run around, avoid you, shoot down what I can, be ahead by 100 points, and I win the game, right? To me, that's what Wood Elves are, and that's what it's all about. And I think that's really why, when I looked at the different types of arrows, I thought the Trueflight was definitely the way to go. For starters, like I said, you're going to be moving all the time, right? If you ever just set up big blocks of Glade Guard, well, you better hope to hell that you can shoot everything down. Otherwise, they are going to get to you and they're going to slaughter you. So that's why I've always liked the things like the scouting archers or the Glade Riders I'm a really big fan of. So I can just run around and shoot. I'll have fewer shots, but hey, I'm just trying to pick off the things I need anyway. Now, with that, that means automatically, well, actually, in the last book, that wasn't a minus. In the last book, you could move, and you didn't take a penalty for moving. So it was fantastic. But there's still usually the penalty for long range. Now, in this book, well, I'm going to be moving, so there's -1, and I'm going to be usually at long range because I don't want to get close to you. I don't want to be in short range of your ranged weapons. I don't want to be giving you any chance to charge. So I'm already looking at a -2 to hit. So hitting on a 5+, if you're in any sort of cover or anything like that, man, hitting on a 3+, that's fantastic. Now, I think that's the really first part there where you really have to break it apart and say, well, what are you really using your bows for? Or how are you actually using your army that's going to be taking advantage of these? Now, for my part, like I said, I'm all about avoidance. And if I'm doing this, if I'm not taking negatives for doing that, that's a huge bonus. Now, some have said that, well, even in that case, well, your 6s will be even better then. Because if I'm only hitting on 6s, well, at least I'm getting poisons going straight to wounds. Well, in those cases there, actually the math is now on my side, because if you're just hitting on 6s and you're wounding, well, I'm still going to be hitting the 3s, the 4s, and 5s, and depending on the toughness, even on toughness 5, or sorry, when I'm wounding on a 5+, it still works out, right? So the math still says it's pretty good even if I'm doing the runaround style. If I'm going up against monsters or something like that, it's not that big of a deal. I mean, it is more there with the poison, but I find for my part, monsters with a high toughness aren't usually that big of a deal, right? For my part, I can normally avoid them, so I don't even care about them, right? I'm starting the game and I'm saying, I'm going to try and kill this, this, and this, and usually a tough monster isn't on that list. If it's something like a Manticore or something like that, where it's toughness 5, 4 wounds, I'm going to take it down anyway. You know, whether I'm getting poison shots or not, that thing's going down. Now, I think another big part of this, though, is that where you have to take those numbers and apply them again to what you actually do on the battlefield. And I would say that not only looking back at my games and my playstyle, the run around, the biggest thing I have to look at from this is the times that it didn't work. My hard counters I come up against is like, well, damn, this just isn't going to work. Number one was Watchtower. You know, if you have something that's in the tower there, I can try shooting you, but at all those strong minuses, I just can't do enough damage to really take you out. So, again, you know, if I'm getting more hits on the tower there, it's usually going to help me more than the poison shot. But again, this is going to probably be a bad matchup for your Wood Elves anyway. Another one is where people would actually realize what I'm doing. They'd say, oh, geez, he's one of these armies that's going to avoid me. I'm going to find terrain that I'm going to hide in, and I'm going to make sure that it's going to be very hard for him to get any points from me while I protect my own war machines. You know, he's going to have the war machines behind his units, so they're going to be getting hard cover. He's going to be having his units either in terrain, behind walls, in buildings, and saying, okay, shoot at me. I'm going to reduce the damage you're doing to me and protecting my units that shoot you. And that made it really hard for me. Well, if I hit still on the 3+, no matter what, I don't care, right? Go ahead, hide. You know, put that cannon of yours behind a unit, behind a wall, whatever you want to do. Sorry, I'm still going to shoot it. I'm still going to take that thing off the table. So it's really nice to take that away. The other one that'd be really bad is, let's say I'm going up against skinks, right? We're going up against lizardmen, and they put all their points into the skink cloud. And all of a sudden now I'm having to deal with the skirmishers and everything else. Again, they're going through the woods whenever possible. Those minuses are killing me. And especially here when we're comparing it to poison, we're talking about toughness 2 here. So the poison thing isn't that huge. The huge thing is that there's a lot of guys and it's really hard to hit them, and I need to kill them as fast as possible because they're shooting back. And if I don't kill those skinks quickly, I'm just going to die. And that's just the way it is. I think another big thing we can talk about here too is the whole idea where we still have one of our biggest problems, which is going to be armor. That's one of the biggest things that always came up, where if I'm up against an army that was based on very high armor, it doesn't really matter whether you're poisoned or not. You have to deal with that hard armor, and that's going to really kill you. And a lot of times, if I'm up against a Warriors of Chaos army like that, where I'm looking across the board and seeing armor anywhere, I'm not shooting against the armor. I'm trying to kill off the units of dogs and something else small to say, okay, I killed those points, I win, back away. So, again, I think it really comes down to the way you play the game. But still, I was really happy to see people doing the math on it. But I just said, in this case here, you can't just go on pure math, right? It's almost like when people would say, well, this unit is better than this unit because here's the math that proves that these guys kill more. But then you didn't keep into account that, well, in this army, this unit's supposed to be working with this unit. This unit has, or this army has access to this spell. And that really pushes this unit to the next level. So sometimes you have to take math and then push it to the next level where you say, oh, this is also the way I play the army. And when you take that into account, it kind of changes how the numbers are. So there you have it. Whether you want to go with the Trueflight arrows or the Hagbane, you know, it's probably going to come out to the same thing mathematically in most of your games. The problem I see is when you come to those hard counters, you're going to be better off with the Trueflight. So there you have it. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.